us or what hinders the any reversible process to be reversible? Why? Because most of the process actually in our case are dissipative in nature. So either they are friction or some electrical resistance or magnetic hysteresis. So all this because of things, what happens? Some part of your energy is lost, and which you cannot convert it into back into work without affecting the surrounding or the rest of the universe. So that is why uh, all of the natural processes are irreversible, and we cannot have a 100% efficient engine. That is also another thing, right? So that is why most of the natural processes are irreversible process. So today, as I discussed, told you yesterday, last time, that we are going to discuss a new concept that is called entropy, right? So okay, so what is entropy and why? What is its significance in heat and thermodynamics? We will discuss this today, and slowly we will also discuss how entropies play a very important role in thermodynamics. Okay, so we know, right? We know that all spontaneous reaction, whatever happening in our universe, in our day-to-day life, everywhere. Okay, what happens? So always the direction of heat is from hot reservoir to cold reservoir, right? Wherever you place a hot object, it's after some time, what happens? It will become cold by radiating the heat or transferring the heat to the surrounding. Okay, so or suppose there is a cold object you place, then the surrounding is hot. Then what happens? The heat will transfer from the surrounding, which is at a higher temperature, to the object, which is at lower temperature. So anyhow, whether it is that heat transfer from the surrounding to the object or object to surrounding, both way naturally that happens mm, from a hot reservoir to cold reservoir. Okay, and that is kind of unidirectional, right? Without, if you are not talking about involving any other third thing, or you are not talking about a refrigerator kind of engine where you supply some extra energy to uh, take away the heat from the reservoir, then all natural process, what they do, there will be transfer of heat from the hot reservoir to cold reservoir. Okay, and what happens? So, and in that process, actually, what basically what they try actually, all our natural process try to achieve the equilibrium. If you place a hot teacup in your drawing room, after some time it becomes cold, or it will become as the room temperature. Okay, 30 degrees centigrade. Why it happens? Because at the beginning your surrounding, which is your room, was at room temperature, but your whole tea cup was at, let's say, some 40 degrees centigrade. And naturally what will happen, the heat will radiate from the, or heat will transfer from the cup to the surrounding. So slowly there will be vaporization, there will be radiation of the heat, and also some part of the heat will be absorbed by the cup, and also wherever you placed, let's say in the table or in other object on, and all this heat will be lost, and slowly you'll see it will get same as the room temperature. So this is the very natural process, and in this way actually what happens, our all our object try to achieve the equilibrium. Okay, so what we see that this is naturally happening naturally. Okay, and that the direction of heat is always from hot reservoir to cold reservoir. Then, during this development of second law of thermodynamics, there are many people thought that is there any way so that we can quantify or qualitatively or quantitatively can we say something about the reaction of heat? Like let's say if body is moving from one point to another point, okay, at a given temperature, a given time, then you know the velocity, right? At a particular direction, if it is moving, each direction is associated with it, you say it is a vector. So you know whether it is moving in east direction or west direction or northeast or any direction, you know, right? In xy coordinate you can easily find out what is the direction using an angle also. The similar way for heat transfer, suppose there is two reservoir and the heat is transferred from one place to another place. So can we tell or say something about this direction of the heat flow? So in that process, so Clausius was the first person who thought about entropy. That is a new term, okay? And he thought that it is kind of another state function like internal energy, which depends on like volume or temperature. Internal energy, it depends on volume and temperature. Similarly, entropy also kind of state function. But the problem is that you cannot measure the entropy directly. There is no direct way to measure it, like the temperature. Okay. Then he slowly developed some mathematical formulation how entropy can be put in second law of thermodynamics and how we can interpret any process, any thermodynamical process in terms of entropy. Okay. And later on, after further development, Boltzmann showed that the measure, whatever the entropy we are talking about is nothing but the measure of the disorderness of the system. Suppose you have a system and there is always some disorderness, and that disorderness, the degree of disorderness is basically the entropy. Okay. Suppose, for example, if you take a gas molecule inside a cylinder, then if the temperature is at room temperature, then gas molecule have very small kinetic energy, so their motion is also less. So whatever the entropy at the beginning, when it was at the room temperature, let's say x, then if I heat them up, then their particular motion will increase, their kinetic energy will increase. So they will move here and there. Okay, you know that that is Brownian motion happens. Okay, so there will be here and there motion, and that will be very frequent. So there the disorder will be large, and then you will say that yes, the entropy increased. Okay, so that is basically in other language you can say that it is a measure of disorderedness. Okay. And one more thing also in the beginning, as I told you, that every natural process is tending towards to attain the equilibrium, right? And in this process, heat is flowing. So if we want to somehow put this entropy into this direction of heat and its measure, then we can say that uh, mm, it is also related with the state of the function. Suppose a water is melting, so a ice is melting and becoming water. So there is a phase transition from ice to water, and that is because ice is losing some heat and becoming ice is gaining some heat from the surrounding and becoming water. Okay, so there is a phase transition, and in that process some heat also transfer take place, and there we can say that yes, entropy is also changed. Okay, and that's why what we can say, entropy is also related with the transition of phase, or uh, uh, during the occurrence of some equilibrium between the water and your room temperature, uh, entropy also can be related. Okay, so it is a part of your equilibrium process or a change in the state. So you can always relate to the probability of a change of state. Okay, that's why it is entropy is not only important in thermodynamics, it is also important in statistical mechanics. So in statistical mechanics, when you read in maybe in your fourth year or fifth year, so there also you'll see that maybe third year also. So you will find that this whatever the thermodynamics you are reading, there is a statistical process which is happening with all system. Okay, in statistical mechanics, these thermodynamic variable like temperature, volume, entropy are also associated with them. And whenever there is a change in phase, there will be change in volume or pressure or density of the state or temperature of the state. And that's why in statistical mechanics, always you talk about probability. What is the probability of a transformation from one state to another state? Okay, so that's why this is what I have written here, that This probability also can be involved or also is a part of statistical mechanics. Okay, so this is some of the things I wanted to discuss with you regarding the entropy, with the general concept of entropy. So let us discuss more about this. What is entropy and what is related with how this is related with our thermodynamics. Okay, so let's start with first with reversible process or reversible process. Okay, reversible process is the easiest one and very controlled process. So start with let's first reversible process, then slowly we'll go to irreversible process. Okay, so suppose I have a PV diagram where my system is at 1, okay, then it went to 2 through a path A, okay, and that is a reversible process. Your system can also come to 2 to 1, okay. They are cyclic and reversible process. It doesn't matter which direction you go, but this is how it happens. My pressure increased and also volume increased, let's say. So this is a PV diagram where my system went from this point 1 to point 2, okay. Then if it wants to return back to 1, because it is a reversible process, so let me call this next process. What happened? The system tried to come back to 1 through the path B, okay. In the beginning, what happens, in the forward direction it went through the path A, but when it comes back, then it is following a path B, okay. And as it is coming back to its original position, you can say it is a reversible process. And this similar thing we have already discussed in our Carnot cycle, right? Carnot cycle is a reversible process, but there are also many other things, right? Isothermal and adiabatic process which are involved, we know. Now, if this is a reversible process, okay, then this reversible process, in fact, we can depend with very small infinitesimal numbers of many Carnot cycles. Suppose this 1 to 2, if I'm moving, then I can say that 1 to another state, let's say to another state, let's say x1, then x1 to x2, and x2 to x3, and x3 to 2, and again here another 2 to, let's say, y1, then y1 to y2, and so on, okay. So there, if I try to put many other substeps, okay, by using the concept of Carnot cycle, then also I can do, no matter it will not make any effect, because this is a reversible process. So they will at the end will return back to the original position. So if I talking about this reversible process, and suppose in the forward direction I have a Q1 amount of heat transferred at the temperature T1, and when it return back, then Q2 amount of heat is absorbed and at the temperature T2, okay. Then what happens? As it is a reversible process, Q1 divided by T1 will minus Q2 divided by T2 will be 0, right? Because this is a reversible process, so whatever the temperature and heat was involved in the first process should be equal to the in the opposite direction. Otherwise, they will not be in equilibrium, or it can be reversible process. So you can write like this. Okay, Q1 by T1 will be Q2 by T2. That's all. And if you want to write down in more mathematical formulation, then this will be a reversible closed integral, where it is going from 1 to A, and 2 to A to 2, then 2 to B, and B to 1. Okay. So this is how my path is, where I can write down whatever the change in heat at a given temperature will be delta QR divided by T. And I saw that there is no net change in that heat, because this is a reversible process. So heat is there is no change in heat. Whatever the heat absorbed from the reservoir will be rejected to the cold reservoir. So heat will remain same. So there is no change. So delta Q over T will be 0. And if I want to plot it, if I make it more sub-step, okay, like this figure B, okay, then I can do like that also, no problem. Okay, so if I go from here to here, then here to here, and here to here, as I discussed in the previous case, and then it come back here, okay, and so on, and come back to the original position. So it doesn't matter which direction or which path I go, I am returning to my original position. So everything is that heat change in heat will be 0, and I can write down in a this fashion. Okay, suppose whatever the integration I am writing 1 to 2 delta q r by t, and the path is via a. Only if I take about two path, okay, and from 2 to 1, what I am going with delta qr by t via path b, okay. So this is the thing I can write down. No, there is no problem. Okay, this is just mathematically we are trying to understand ourselves. Otherwise, it is well understood. If it is reversible process, that we know the delta q will be 0. So this thing, of course, will be 0, right? Just we are writing in very mathematical consistency way. Okay. Now, again, so whatever the integration we have written here, this is what in the last page I am writing here. Okay. And if you look at this equation 1 here, it is going from 1 to 2 delta qr by t via a, and 2 to 1 to via b. And let me say, suppose I took another path, okay, from 1 to 2 by a via path a, and 2 to 1 via path c. Then also I can write down this part like this, right? 1 to 2 delta qr by t via a, and 2 to 1 delta qr by t via c. This is a reversible process, so I can take any path. Okay, and if I compare equation 1 and equation 2, then what I will see? This in equation 1 it was via a plus via b, and here it is via a plus via c, right? So this integral and this integral will be same, right? If I compare both of them, because both the processes are same. Okay, so what will happen? They will become same. That implies whatever the integration I have, or the I'm talking about the heat transfer at some given temperature T in a reversible process, it's same no matter which path I follow. Okay, so there is some path independence, and that's why, like we have done for the U internal energy. So this term we can write down is it can be become a exact differential. Okay, and what we can do, we can write down delta q r over t equal to delta ts. Okay, where ts is the change in entropy, and S stands for entropy. Okay, so this is how we see that no matter which path you follow for a reversible process, okay, they will become same at the end. And from there, what we see, the reversible process is a path independent. But if let's say entropy is a state function which depends on, let's say, like temperature and heat, then this is a path independent, so it will become a exact differential. So we can write down like this: delta qr over t equal to delta s. Okay, so there is no problem if I write down like this. A new variable, let's introduce delta qr by t equal to ds. Okay, then as I told you, this is your S is entropy, and this entropy, what we know, is a extensive quantity. Okay, it depends on your volume or shape of the object. There are some intensive property also. Do you know what are the intensive property? They don't depend on the shape or volume or mass of the system, like temperature or density. Those are things intensive property. Okay, and this is a extensive quantity which depends on volume or shape of the system. Okay, so this is regarding the basically formulation or introduction of a new variable that is called entropy S. Okay, and let us say we know that is a reversible process. There may not be any change in the temperature or heat, but still, let's say when I am going from 1 to 2 through the path A, and returning back from 2 to 1 through the path B. So let me say this is S1. In this path, whatever the entropy I had was S1, and in the return path, whatever the entropy was, let's say S2. Then what I can write down, then S2 minus S1, final path entropy minus initial path entropy. That will give you the change in temperature, change in entropy, right? The S2 minus S1, which is, let me write down as a dAs, equal to 1 to 2 dq r over T. So this is how we define as a change in entropy of a system. Okay? And we know, as I told, although we know at the beginning, but we try to do some or develop some mathematical formulation for entropy. We know that when there is a complete reversible cycle, then it is happening in cyclic manner. Okay. So, and this is also reversible. So there will be no net change in the entropy, because this is 0. So whatever the integration we will get in the reversible process, the change in entropy will be 0. Okay. So this is what at the beginning of our concept of entropy. Then let's go to the next step. What we'll do, we'll take a very simple example. That is a reversible process that is called Carnot cycle. We have already discussed. On Carnot cycle, we'll try to find out how the entropy is playing the role there, and how entropies are changing. Okay, that is what we'll do. So this diagram, I think you know, right? In the PV diagram for the Carnot cycle, you know, right? Suppose you start from A, okay, and at the beginning, what is the process? You will go from A to B, and that process is a isothermal expansion, right? Your pressure will decrease and volume will increase. You will go from A to B by absorbing some Q1 amount of heat from the hot reservoir, right? So what happened here? Your Q1 amount of heat is transferred from the reservoir at the temperature T1, right? And it is a isothermal process, so temperature is constant. So if I want to write down the change in or gain in entropy in this process from going from path from point A to B in my phase diagram, PV phase diagram, then what will be that? The delta S will be A to B dq by T. And we know that Carnot cycle is a reversible cycle process. So we have to write down as a reversible process. Okay. And this is what our pressure is decreasing and volume is decreasing. We know volume is increasing, pressure is decreasing. This is we know in the when we discuss the Carnot cycle, right? This is how it follow the path. Then if I want to do this thing in a new phase diagram, that is called temperature entropy phase diagram. Okay, TS diagram. Then what it will look like? If A is my point 1 and B is point 2, in this process, what happens? I had some gain of temperature. Let's say at that the temperature is remaining same, right? This is isothermal process or isothermal expansion. So temperature will be same, but because I gain some heat, so there will be increase in entropy. So that can be given like this. Okay. So temperature, you see temperatures. This is your temperatures, right? Direction. So temperature is remaining same. That is T1. Only entropy is increasing. So that's why you get a parallel line to the entropy axis. Temperature is remaining same. Only whatever the entropy, let's say it was S1, and then it will become S2 here, right? So from going from 1 to 2, your entropy is changed. Then if you write down in a more just getting the amount, whatever the things involved here in the quantity, so delta 2 else will be what? Integration A to B delta Q by T. But here T is T1 and delta Q will be Q1, right? So that's why delta S will be what? T1 by T1. So this is what your first part or first step of your Carnot cycle. This is done. Then next is what? Next is the adiabatic expansion. In this adiabatic expansion, you will go from B to C in the Carnot cycle, right? So in this case, what will happen? If it is an adiabatic expansion, your heat will remain constant. There is no exchange of heat, in the Carnot cycle we have discussed that. Only what happens because of adiabatic expansion, your temperature will decrease. Huh? And in this case, there is no change in heat. So dq over T will be what? No heat exchange, so dq will be 0, right? There is no change in heat, so dq equal to 0. So your S value, delta S will be dq over T, right? So dq 0, so everything will be 0. That means your change in entropy in this step, going from B to C, is 0. There is no change in entropy. And if there is no change in entropy, the such processes are called isentropic process. Okay. So remember this. So if a process where entropy doesn't change, then it will be called an isentropic process. Okay. So if I want to plot this thing in a TS diagram, what will it look like? So if I say the process going from B to C, where as I told you that there will be a drop in temperature, but change in temperature, heat is 0. That's why S is 0. But there is a drop in temperature. So what will it look like? That TS diagram will look like this. So whatever the temperature at 1 to 2 will drop down from T1 to T2. But you see, in entropy direction, there is no change. Only in temperature direction, there is change. There is a drop. So it's coming from 2 to 3. But there is no change in S. So you will see a parallel line to the T axis. So this is what your TS diagram will look like for this adiabatic expansion process, right? Now the next step is what? The next step is the Carnot cycle is the isothermal compression, right? Where you will go from C to T, and that is kind of you are moving in a cyclic manner. You want to go back to point A. This is a reversible process. So, but what we did, we wanted to move it in a isothermal expansion compression way. Okay. So in this process, as it is isothermal compression, so what happened? Your temperature will remain same. Whatever the temperature here, T2 will be remain same, but you have to reject some heat to the reservoir. Okay. So what is that amount of heat? Q2. Okay. So as there is some exchange of heat like Q2, so your delta S will be what? dq by T integration we do, right? This is the formula for entropy. So delta S will be T is what? T is T2 and dq will be here Q2 amount of heat is rejected. So dq will be Q2. So that's why I am writing Q2 by 2. But you see, there is a negative sign. Why? Because we are rejecting heat. We are not taking heat. So it is in a reverse direction. The movement is in a reverse direction. That's why there will be a negative sign. So here delta S is equal to basically minus Q2 by T2. That's all. So this is what how we can present that. So as this is an isothermal process, your temperature will remain same, whatever temperature it was, to remain same. But entropy is changing, and entropy changing, but there is a negative sign. That means entropy is decreasing here. So what will happen? In S-axis, whatever the let's say your entropy was, let's say S2, will go. This will decrease. So you will have to move in backward direction. So you will go from 3 to 4. Okay. And temperature will remain as it is same. So there is no change in temperature. So it will temperature, whatever temperature it is, will same. That is T2. Okay. Now you are here at 4. And the last process is what? Adiabatic compression. So in adiabatic process compression, what you do? As this is the adiabatic process, so there will be not heat exchange. But because of compression, your temperature will increase, right? So whatever the temperature, let's say it was T2, and we are working in a reversible process. So we will go from D to A. So your temperature will increase, and that will become at the end T1, right? And here because there is no exchange of heat, so dq is 0, so whole in this part becomes 0 and delta S will be 0. So there will be no change in entropy. So that's why the last process will be 4 to 1. Okay, the temperature increasing, so it was the arrow is from upward direction, but S is same. Okay, let's say S1. So there is no change in S1, so it is going upward in parallel to T axis, and at the end it will reach here. So this is complete cycle, reversible process only uh, at isothermal expansion and isothermal compression. Only these 2 points you see there is change in entropy, right? So now we basically complete our Carnot cycle. So now at the end of this, let us calculate the change in total amount of entropy in this process. Okay. So what will be that? Suppose when I go from A to B, that is isothermal expansion. Let's say this is S1. Okay. And from B to C, let's say S2, and C to D, the change in whatever the entropy is S3, and D2 is whatever the entropy change is S4. Okay. So the net change, if I want to calculate all the entropy whatever we have in this cyclic process, what will I have to do? For this in the isothermal expansion and for isothermal compression, the change in entropy will be S2 minus S1, which will be equal to S3 minus S4. Okay. So this will be, you can equate like this, because in forward direction, from going like from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, there is an increase in entropy. In the reverse part, 3 to 4 and 4 to 1, you have decrease in entropy. So that is why I am writing S2 to S minus S1 equal to S3 minus S4. But basically S2 and S4 is 0, right? So whatever we will have a S1 and S3 at the end. Now what we'll do, in this PV diagram, we know that the PV diagram area, okay, area of this quadrilateral will be always give you the net amount of useful work, right? In that, if you remember our Carnot's cycle, we calculated the work, right? Work done. And how we did that? We did by integrating this curve, right? And integration of a curve, nothing but area under that curve, right? So that is what I am saying here. So whatever the area under this curve will get, will give you the useful work. And this is regarding the PV diagram. But what happens here for TS diagram? So if you try to take the area of the TX diagram, it would give a concept of heat. Okay, how much change in heat which is converted into work. That is what actually you will get. Okay. So in TS diagram, if you take the integration, which is basically looks like a rectangle, the area of this rectangle will give you that basically the amount of heat which is converted into work. That's all. So this is what the information you will get from this TS diagram. So here you will get the amount of useful work done. Here you will see how much heat you have used, which has converted into useful work. That's all. Only difference is that. So PV diagram is called basically useful work, and TS diagram is called as heat diagram. Okay, that is the only difference you can say. Now, if somebody will tell you that please find out the efficiency of this process in terms of entropy, okay, how we will do that? We can do that. And what is that? We know, and efficiency is always written like this: 1 minus Q2 divided by Q1. We know this formula at the very beginning when we discussed the Carnot cycle. So if eta equal to Q1 minus Q2 divided by Q1, that is 1 minus Q2 by Q1. Okay. And we know that if your delta S equal to delta S equal to what? dq by t, right? dq by t, right? We know that. Just forget about, for time being, forget about the integration. We know this formula. So dq equal to what? T delta S, right? So this is what the formula I am going to use here. So if I want to find out the q1 minus q2, what it will be? T2 minus T1 delta S. Okay, and Q1 will be what? Q1 will be, just if you remove this delta Q in terms of write down Q by T, then Q1 will be T1 delta S. So this is what the formula in terms of entropy. Okay, I am using just the formula, entropy definition, whatever we have here, where it is. Yes, this formula just I am using, nothing else. You can use this formula, no problem. At the beginning, this definition. Okay. So to convert the either going from Q to S or S to T, you can either way you can write down. So delta Q will be T ds or S will be delta Q by T, whatever way you can write. So that is the relation I am using here. So Q1 minus Q2 will be T2 delta S minus T1 delta S, which will be T2 minus T1 delta S, and Q1 is T1 delta S. That's all. Then if I use put this Q1 minus Q2 value and Q1 value, what I will do? This term delta S term will be cancel out, right? In numerator and denominator, this delta S will they will be cancel out, and I will get T2 minus T1 divided by T1, which is 1 minus T2 by T1. Okay, and if you remember, this is the same formula we have got from the Carnot cycle. When we discuss Carnot cycle, what we get? We get the efficiency can be written also like 1 minus T2 by T1. It depends basically on the temperature of the reservoirs, not on the substance, right? This formula we have already got in our discussion during the Carnot cycle. So this is how actually we arrived. Even if we discuss all this TS diagram or PV diagram in terms of entropy, we are basically getting the same result, or the efficiency of the engine remains same, whether we discuss this thing in PV diagram way or TS diagram way, both will remain same. So this is what regarding the irreversible process, and we take a very idealistic cycle that is called Carnot cycle, that is the reversible cycle we know, and we try to find out the efficiency also Carnot cycle in terms of entropy. Okay. So this is what one of the thing we discussed. Then next thing actually I wanted to discuss. So if there is a heat transformation in the reversible process, and suppose in what happens in many reversible process, temperature doesn't change. Okay. So for example, in isothermal process, isothermal reversible process, then there is a transfer of heat, but temperature is not changing because of isothermal process. So then that time temperature remains constant. And that time what you can do, you can write down delta S will be, let's say, T1 to T2 delta Q by T. Okay. No, actually I have written something wrong here. So, but this is a, if, okay, what actually I want to say, if the reversible process is isothermal process, let's say there is no change in temperature, then simply you can write down delta S equal to your delta Q by T. Okay. But in many cases, what happens? Temperature also change. Okay. For example, in not adiabatic, but other process, it is not only that a process will be isothermal or adiabatic. In any case, in general, if there is a process where temperature is also changing, then what you have to do? Instead of writing like this, you have to write like this. Okay. You have to do the integration from T1 to T2 delta Q by 2 T, and this will be reversible process. And suppose there is a heat capacity involved with the system, okay, and that remains constant all over the temperature interval. Suppose my system is a reversible process where temperature is changing from T1 to T2, and the heat system heat capacity of the system is remaining same over that interval, then what I can do, I can write down also this delta S like this. This is also another formula, working formula. You can say delta S equal to MC MC T1 to T2 dt by T. Okay, where you know, so Q you can write basically write down CV dt, right? If you remember. So if C is my heat capacity and dt is the temperature, change in temperature. So and mass is the and m is the mass of the object. So what I can do, I can write down like this: mc T1 to T2 dt over T. And if I integrate this one, dt over T will be logarithmic function. So mc ln T2 by T1. So this is also another expression for measuring the entropy or measuring the change in entropy like this. Delta S will be mc ln T2 by T1, where C is the heat capacity of the system. Okay. So this is what another expression for entropy, how we can quantify that in a system. So these are all regarding the reversible process. And the last part of today's class is I am discussing regarding the Clausius inequality, and slowly we'll discuss about the irreversible process. So in next class we'll discuss some irreversible process and regarding the ideal gas and the real gas and their how this entropy is playing their role. Okay. So just in the last part, let me discuss about the Clausius inequality. Okay. And we know, so whenever we are talking about reversible process, that is a idealistic case, right? In all natural process, they are irreversible process. And we know any engine which is reversible process will be have the highest efficiency. That we know from the Carnot theorem. I have discussed this Carnot theorem. If you remember, we have that any machine which is working in a reversible manner will have a maximum efficiency than any other machine or any other engine. So suppose I have a reversible process, okay, which is working between T1, T2, and then I got another irreversible engine, okay, which is working also in the same temperature range, T1 and T2. And let me tell that eta irreversible is the efficiency of the Carnot engine, which is a irreversible process working in T1, T2, and eta reversible is basically the efficiency of Carnot engine, which is a reversible process. Okay. Then, because according to Carnot theorem, we know that whatever the efficiency I will get for a irreversible process will always less than the eta of the reversible process. And we know eta, the efficiency of a engine can be written in terms of heat, right? So if I write down eta irreversible will be what? Q1 irreversible minus Q2 irreversible will be Q1. This is the basic formula for eta. This is just only I am writing in terms of irreversible. Okay. And that will be smaller than eta reversible. And what is eta reversible? Q1 reversible minus Q2 reversible by Q1 reversible. So whatever the amount absorbed by the engine in reversible process, let's say Q1, and the Q2 amount of heat is rejected to the cold reservoir in the irreversible process, then this is will be your efficiency for irreversible process, and this will be your efficiency for reversible process. And this quantity will be always same, always less. Whatever the efficiency will get in irreversible process will be less. And this inequality, if we just okay, if what will be become like this will be becomes 1 minus Q2 by Q1, right? Q2 by Q1 irreversible less than 1 minus Q2 by Q1 reversible. And if then you see 1 will cancel out of this inequality, so there is a negative sign. Okay. And this, because of negative sign, what if I want to make positive, what will happen? This inequality will become greater than. So less than will become greater than. So minus, let's say, minus, let's say 3 by 4 minus 3 by 4 is less than minus 3.5 by 4, let's say, or 4.8, or let's say 5. Then which one is greater than which one? If I make them negative positive, so this will become greater than this one, right? 3 by 4, if you check, this 3 by 4 will become greater than 3.5 by 5. Okay, you check any inequality. Okay, this is true for all equality. It's not the same for only this one. So because of there is minus sign in both sides, if I get rid of minus sign, then this less than will inequality become greater than. Okay, that is what I am writing here, nothing else. So then what happened? I'll get this expression. But we know if we add down in terms of temperature, if my reversible engine is working in the temperature T1, T2, then Q2 reversible divided by Q1 reversible will be what? T2 by T1. We know that from the Carnot theorem, eta equal to 1 minus T2 by T1 equal to 1 minus Q2 by Q1, right? So that's why Q2 reversible by Q1 reversible will be T2 by T1. And if I write down here, this instead of writing Q2 reversible by Q1 reversible, it's Q2 by T1, what it will become? Q2 irreversible divided by T2 greater than Q1 irreversible by T1. Just I replace this T2, T1 here, okay, and then exchange the variables. That's all. Then if you get this, okay, then what will you do? If you integrate this, okay, delta Q over T for the irreversible circle, then as this quantity is greater than this one, okay, so Q1 by T1 minus Q2 by T2 will be negative. This term is less than this term. So that's why they're minus whatever, if you subtract them, it will become negative, right? And if you're doing the integration, so that's why we have to write down Q1 to Q2, right? And the temperature is changing from T1 to T2, so that's why it became less than 0. So whatever the irreversible process you have, the inequality will become less than 0. Delta Q over T will be less than 0. That means if your engine is working in an irreversible process, then your whatever the value will get here will become less and less. Okay. So whatever the in general case, what you can write for any irreversible engine which is working in a cyclic manner, let's say delta Q over T will be less than or equal to 0. It can either maximum 0 or less than 0. Okay, so this inequality is called as Clausius inequality. So any irreversible process, your efficiency is less, and because of this, you will have a this inequality will always less than or equal to 0, and because of this less than or equal to 0, okay, so what happens? Your S2 minus S1 or S1 minus S2, whatever that change in entropy will be what? More, right? That means in any irreversible process, when you look at your entropy will increase. So that we'll discuss in the next class, okay, in more details how these things is working. So this is regarding the Clausius inequality, and this is very simple way we are getting. Just we have to look at these inequalities. Here it was greater than, and because here it was less than, and because there is negative sign, we have to make it. If you make it positive, then this inequality less than will become greater than. That's all. And from there, we just convert this into T1 and T2, and we get this expression. Very simple way we get this expression, which becomes always less than 0. Okay. So I think we are done for today. We'll stop here. Anybody has anything to say, or if not, then any doubt? I think these are very
No doubt,
simple.
sir.
Yeah, they are very simple mathematical things and conceptual also a little bit. Okay, so slowly we'll go more in towards the isothermal and adiabatic process, and we'll do more. We'll find out more expression, and maybe sometime I will show you some example regarding the entropy and how, if there is a system given to us and problem, if there is temperature involved or heat is involved, how to calculate the entropy, or how to know the other thermodynamic variable. Maybe next class I will show you. Okay. So if not, then we'll stop here. So thanks everybody for joining, and please write down your roll number and name in your Google Classroom. Okay. Those who have not written. Okay. So we'll stop here. Thanks everybody for joining.